This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, the possible plans for Bo Dallas as Uncle Howdy and his faction mates. We've got the lowdown on who those people might be. We also might have some answers as to where you can watch Monday Night Raw starting in October, as well as maybe some changes for Smackdown. And this WWE legend is now a free agent. Got the lowdown on all of that. We're going to break into all of that later on in the show. We're going to talk about Backlash. We're going to talk about AEW. We're going to talk about what's going on with the King and Queen of the Ring matches. We've got all of this to dive into today, helping me break it all down and discuss it all. And he's going to tell me if I'm an idiot or not. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Cuz, is there any way we can record this podcast in France? Could you imagine if the crowd was like, ole, 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 D-O-C and J-O-C-K, ole? I'm telling you, when you sit down on a Saturday and you see the French crowd not only respect the wrestlers, but they chant from start to finish, what kind of shit they putting in that espresso over there? I got to go over there and check out a wrestling show. My big takeaway from the week, AJ Styles must have his final match in France. I was shocked from Smackdown to the chants that they did at Backlash regarding Phenomenal. The French crowd literally put Americans to shame all weekend long. And then you come back to Raw and everybody's sitting on their ass, which really was embarrassing. So to me, man, kudos to the French crowd. They need 2-3 shows a year, and you just got to have them chanting and screaming. It made what was the most predictable pay-per-view in history one of the best of all time. I've gone back and watched clips nonstop all week. You want your wrestling fix? Watch Backlash last year in Puerto Rico and this year in France. They've made Backlash something that kind of was a throwaway show. The Europeans have made it special, and oh my God, it just made the excitement level to do this podcast so much higher, even though we're waking up at the butt crack of dawn, tired, hungover, and whatever the hell we're dealing with. This shit was awesome, and kudos to France. 10 stars, amazing crowd, maybe even the best crowd ever, on par with Toronto for WrestleMania 18. It was an experience of all time, and we can always look back at that pay-per-view and just revel in what the hell that was, because it made everything spectacular. It really highlighted that, man, Europeans love their sports, and if France can act like that, then it's time to put WrestleMania in France in one of those big stadiums, no doubt.
Yeah, that crowd was really magical. I think if you want a moment that just kind of encapsulated everything, you just kind of go to the back end of this pay-per-view, right? It really, Jey Uso coming out, his entrance, and it felt like the building was rocking. Literally, felt like it was rocking. You could see it through your TV screen. And then everything with AJ Styles was absolutely incredible, from Friday Night SmackDown to what you got on Saturday with the pay-per-view. And you're right, this was a throwaway pay-per-view. This was a very predictable card. I don't know if there were really any huge matches on here that really got you excited, that were like, oh my God, I've got to buy this pay-per-view for this. I mean, we are so close to coming off of WrestleMania and the high of WrestleMania. This pay-per-view just kind of just didn't get you excited. To see what happened in France was absolutely incredible. And it was, like you said, it took what probably was going to be a degraded pay-per-view and really made it an A. And it was a lot of fun to watch, and it was exciting. And it was exciting from start to finish. We started off with the Bloodline and Randy Orton and Kevin Owens basically brawling throughout the stadium. They end up in the ring. Next thing you know, this is deemed a no DQ street fight match, which plays perfectly into the Bloodline's hands. And this is where the Bloodline really take advantage. You have Tungaloa the brother to Tama Tonga make his debut, climbs out from underneath the ring, pulls the referee out, stops what would have been a 3 count for the win for Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, only to allow the Bloodline to take advantage and get the W. What were your thoughts on Tonga Loa making his debut? And now that we have the Gorillas of Destiny in WWE, how special is this? Because I'm excited for it, and I think they both look absolutely incredible right now.
Yeah, it was cool live, but at the same token, the crowd maybe didn't exactly know who that was. And then you go back online, which we all do, and it looked like he botched it a little bit with his timing. But
he was a little bit off.
In regards to the storyline, I think it's great because it was a swerve. We all thought it would be Jacob Fatu, but in the end, the bloodline is growing, and you have one of the premier tag teams that, if done right, you can really have a bunch of dream matches that a lot of people will pay attention to. Those that pay attention to New Japan, the history of wrestling, understand what just happened. You got a premier tag team in the WWE. Should you choose to go down that road and have the Usos reunite, it's a dream match that probably you could I'm thinking right now that's penciled into WrestleMania 41. It has to be. And I think that there's an opportunity now for the next step of the Bloodline storyline with Solo Sikoa leading it is very intriguing. And all you can say is in one short year, Solo has become the man, and now he added to the ranks of the Bloodline.
Yeah, and this Bloodline, I'm really enjoying this. And I just kind of want to deviate from the pay-per-view for a quick moment. I'm really enjoying this new version of the Bloodline. To me, the Bloodline has always felt like it's been an updated Samoan Mafia story. If you go back to Roman Reigns and just the very, very beginning of this whole thing, it's always kind of felt like it's been a bit of a mob story. And I love mob stories. I watch The Godfather on Christmas. Usually I watch The Godfather on Christmas before I come over to your house. I watch it at my dad's. I love mob movies. Me and my father watch them all the time. It's like the one thing we have in common. So this has always felt like it's been a bit of a mob story to me. And this version of the Bloodline, this is like the Bloodline 2.0 right now. This version of it seems like a much more bloody, gritty, angry, violent bloodline that is willing to do whatever it has to do to keep you off of its turf and to make sure that you're making your payments regularly. And I'm loving it. I think it's great. Now, the thing with Jacob Fatu, there's been a report that's come out this week, and I don't know if you heard it. I just kind of want to get your impressions of it, because I think they've done a great job with Solo Sikoa. I think he's fantastic. I think right now this character that he's playing, if you watch Friday Night Smackdown, he went in for this hug on Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman does such a good job of selling discomfort and just being uncomfortable. He gave Paul a hug, and he just kind of patted his back, and he's wearing these leather gloves, and he just seems like he is this unhinged mafia boss right now, and Paul is uncomfortable as get out. I'm loving this. But Jacob Fatu, they held him back. They have him. He signed. We're just waiting for him to make his appearance. The report that came out is that he may upstage Solo Sikoa. So as much as Solo Sikoa is stealing the show right now, there's another Uso who could possibly steal the show, and they're afraid of putting Fatu on the show with Solo because they're afraid that Solo may get upstaged, and at this point, they don't want that to happen. What are your thoughts on there possibly being another Roman-esque, Solo-esque, Jay-esque Fatu out there that can join the Bloodline and be another showstopper? I mean, if you just look at these guys, it's absolutely crazy. Like, I don't know what you think about Jey Uso, but I find Jey Uso's character right now to be absolutely incredible. I get hyped every time he comes on the show. I know people who aren't huge wrestling fans, they stop everything they're doing to watch him. So that's why I put Jey Uso in those ranks with a guy like Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa right now. But what are your thoughts of possibly adding another Bloodline member who is on that level that could possibly steal the show and might steal some of the glow of what they're doing with Solo Sikoa?
Man, really, this is why Paul Heyman and the work that he does is so valuable, because when he said this is only the third inning, you also started to encompass, oh my gosh, Jay, Jimmy Uso, Solo, you now are creating really upper tier talent that you can use, and that's all you can ask for. So even though Roman Reigns is away, there are 5 dudes from that bloodline that you can put in different matches, different storylines. It's so intriguing that they're probably just going now toward a bloodline civil war, But right now, Solo's dominance is at the forefront. You see Tama Tonga and the way in which he can be physically dominant. The dude looks scary, and his SmackDown music was ominous. It was great. I know the music division has been taking hits lately regarding. I think AJ's is a little bit less than. I think people are not as happy with Tiffany's remake. I don't think that the new guy meets the level of Mr. Johnson that everybody knows about in regards to the work of the music. But I'll say this: the bloodline is intriguing, and when The Rock put that tree up, you really said to yourself, this family lineage is up there with the Rhodes. It's up there with the best of the best in the terms of wrestling families, where Cody Rhodes' music entrance is really, really symbolic. Wrestling has more than one royal family and might have more than two members of the royal family. When you got the bloodline, you got the Rhodes, you got the McMahons. So look, The Rock, when at WrestleMania they put up in the hype before the matches, when they put up that tree, you just recognize, holy cow, those that have yet to debut, let's see all of them. Let's go. Let's tell some stories, and let's see what this bloodline now in the fifth inning is going to show without Roman Reigns. Because when it all comes to a head with The Rock and Roman, which we all expect, The Rock and Cody, the way in which the family is going to be the head of the table for a little bit of a time, look, it plays. They're legitimate. And could you just imagine? Go back and watch the Usos' entrance. They were Samoans that walked in barefoot, and they were dancing. And to where they are now is a complete remake of characters that makes them a lot more credible. And my goodness, the main event Jey Uso is for real. Now you got to get Jimmy on that level too. So let's see where that goes. If it involves reuniting with his brother, that's fine. But I think there's untapped potential with Jimmy as well. So let's go. It's going to be exciting all the way through and through. Jacob Fatu, all the others, the tag team now that's with Solo. Solo by himself. You might get the next big thing. You know, a real big superstar in Solo Sikoa that is only 30 years old. So you have megastar potential, you got mid-card guys, and you got guys that are going to draw money. So if you're Triple H, you're like, bring me the stories, baby, because they're all going to hit. They're all going to hit, and we all know it.
Yeah, absolutely. So much depth and so much wealth as far as wrestling stars in that family. So absolutely fantastic. And the way that family kind of branches and just continues to go and go. You're right. When Roman put that, or when The Rock put that tree up at that press conference, you're like, holy cow, there's a ton of them. It's unreal. The match after this, and look, this was a fantastic match. The match after this was, I think, just as incredible, maybe might have been the best match of the night. It was Bayley defeating Naomi and Tiffany Stratton to retain the WWE Women's title. If you ever question Bayley, right? If you ever question any of those four horsewomen that they have in WWE, whether it's Charlotte, it's Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks when she was there, and we're going to talk about Mercedes Mone later on in the show because I've got some thoughts. You can't question any one of them. Bayley gets a belt put on her, and look, she deserves it. She can carry it. She can do a match. She can sell a match. Tiffany Stratton has unworldly potential. She is incredibly gifted in the ring. Naomi is no slouch, but I think Tiffany Stratton is probably the next big thing. She's absolutely incredible. What did you think of these women in this match, and what do you think the potential for somebody like Tiffany Stratton is?
To the moon, and this is the second time now where a match that features higher level and more experienced wrestlers, we've all come away with it saying, wait a minute, Tiffany's kind of holding her own. She looks like she's got something there that can be really tapped into and can start to quickly move through the mid-card and become a superstar. And I think she might be already there. So her personality is now matched with her in-ring prowess. That's a great combination, especially for a women's division now that I think that people are really wondering now, what's the role for these women? Because the men are just killing it. And it's a far cry from Becky Lynch and Charlotte. And it's kind of interesting to say, but it seems like the new wave now of women maybe will be given the ball to even take it to the next level. But as opposed to where maybe 5 years ago, you kind of knew that Sasha, Bayley, Naomi, Charlotte Flair, they were going to create some memories. There's still some question marks regarding what that women's division is going to look like because right now, it just to me feels like a lot of mid-card talent with maybe 2 or 3 megastars. And that's Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Charlotte, and Becky. They're like still the top. But the rest, it's there, but it's not resonating at a level where I would say, oh my God, I got to go see Io Sky. I got to go see Asuka. I got to go see, Indy Hartwell. Like, to be honest, when those matches come on, my attention level dips a little bit because it's less than. And look, Rhea Ripley's injury is a hit, but it's another opportunity for these women to take the ball and do something with it. So Tiffany, there's something there, and let's see what she does when the spotlight now shines probably a lot more brighter on her than a lot of the others.
After this match, we had Damian Priest and Jey Uso. Damian Priest ends up defeating Jey Uso to retain the WWE World title. Look, with this match, I thought it was a good match. I thought it was fine. I think the highlights of this match were, one, Jey Uso's entrance, and then what happened at the end. What you had the Judgment Day come out and interfere a little bit of the match to help Damian Priest get the win. Damian Priest gets the victory, and then Finn Balor and JD McDonough proceed to pounce on Jey Uso and start to beat him up. Damian Priest ends up pulling them off, and they have this little dust-up where Damian Priest is kind of scolding the rest of the Judgment Day, and they suck it up, they raise their hands, and they just kind of go. But what you're seeing here is some long-term story building, right? You are seeing the breakup of the Judgment Day, and it's slowly eroding that relationship, and it's slowly starting to take place. And I think that's interesting. I think this will play parts down the road. And I think what it'll be is it'll be a little nugget here, a little nugget there. It'll be a bigger piece at a pay-per-view, and then it'll be a little nugget here, a little nugget there, bigger piece at a pay-per-view, until finally you have either Finn and JD and Dom turn on Damian Priest, or Damian Priest turns on those guys. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Did you have any thoughts on this match?
I think that Damian Priest is legit. It's time that he step away from the Judgment Day, and they maybe they don't call it Judgment Day anymore, but Rhea needs to lead it when she comes back, and they just need to move forward without Damian Priest. He's the guy, and you kind of got to break him away from that group so that he can establish his dominance, and this is where it's going, and it's good to see because right now, the unfortunate byproduct of elevating Damian Priest is it sucks because Mysterio's out, but Finn Balor's kind of taking a back seat. Like, that dude is a superstar. He's not less than mid-card. You got to reestablish Finn as somebody now because, yeah, he got the contract, but he's kind of floating in that Miz range where he's just there, and you need some substance to match the wrestler that we know Finn Balor is. So separate Damian Priest from the group, and let's have some intriguing storylines.
Yeah, you're right. Finn is a superstar, and you got to figure out some way to use him. If you can't figure out how to put Finn up there, I just don't get it.
Right.
The next match we had was a little bit clunky at times. It comes out that Asuka is working through a really bad knee injury, and at times she couldn't even hold herself up. So kudos to Asuka for just getting in the ring and doing what she had to do. Now, this match had a couple of missed tags that force spots to be redone, and that's why I said it was a little bit clunky. But Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair end up defeating the Kabuki Warriors to become the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. And that was your lead in to the main event, which was an all-time great match for AJ Styles. It was a fantastic match for Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes ends up defeating AJ Styles to retain the WWE Undisputed Championship. Small detail, AJ Styles once faced Dusty Rhodes. He once wore his purple shorts. So he wore purple here to face Cody Rhodes. It was a subtle nuance. It's a little bit of wrestling lore right there. I thought this was a fantastic match for AJ Styles. AJ Styles can still go, and he showed you in this match that he can still go. And look, Cody's going to have fantastic matches because it's Cody. What did you think about this main event? And what did you think about the crowd being looped into this main event and AJ Styles still being able to go? I know I just threw a lot at you, but no, I basically just want your thoughts on this match, man, because I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. But here's the thing that sucked. It is so wild. This was the note as I took. If you go back and watch that match a little bit more intricately, when the crowd was going apeshit for AJ Styles during the match, there'd always be a reversal. They never let it get to that peak wildness.
Yeah,
every single time that they started doing the phenomenal chant, which is a spectacular, really personal French chant that we now all know about when the word phenomenal is brought up. When they wanted to get to their zenith, then Cody Rhodes would go on offense. And it was a great match based on the fluidity, the storytelling that was told, but it sucked in only one aspect, in that AJ Styles was the heel. So in a traditional wrestling match, the babyface has the opportunity to come back, gets in the moves. So AJ didn't have like sustained offense. It was bits and pieces here and there. It never got to that crescendo. And it just kind of sucked that he couldn't smile, because you have the scene where the camera's rocking. The announcers are like, holy shit, what the hell's going on? And you got a stoic AJ Styles. Like, in the end, it's France, it's Backlash. Fucking break character. Jump on the rope and just do something. You know what I mean? Egg it on, break character. Look, we all know you're playing a heel, but this is a transcendent moment. Like Rock and Hogan, fucking break character a little bit. It might have also been fun just to kind of fuck around a little bit and let Cody work a match like a heel. I know it's different, it's a one-off, and it might have sent reverberating effects because some people do want Cody to wrestle as a heel, but in this moment, it just felt like, damn, I want to see AJ Styles back in France with that crowd, with that level of apeshitness going on, and let him be a face. Holy cow, did AJ Styles do a good job. But at the same token, so did Cody Rhodes. And it delivered. It was a great match. 35 minutes just flew by. You can watch it. It's timeless. It's a great match. That's the first defense that Cody Rhodes had on television of his title. Great all the way around. Bro, the crowd sang his fucking song for Cody Rhodes. The time he walked out till the time he came in, the crowd was special. And really, it's not even an over-exaggeration to say the crowd's reaction made it even better than the match itself. Just the crowd was the story, and the participants were just the backdrop of, really, the main event was the crowd just singing and chanting, going apeshit, even going back to Randy Orton in the opener, the way they sang and chanted and did everything that they did. It, again, highlight pay-per-view. You can go back. It's timeless. Puerto Rico, France, and now I'm excited. WrestleMania season is now kicking into Royal Rumble, the 6-week push to WrestleMania. Then you get the build to Backlash. And if Backlash is now a foreign thing where these foreign crowds are going to start trying to top each other, France set the bar. They sang from the moment the show started till the match ended. Highlight, Hall of Fame. I love it. Backlash is the European WrestleMania. I love it. And it's timeless. And I'm thankful. If you go on our Twitter page, they still haven't taken it down yet. Some dude put the whole match on there. You can go to our Twitter page and you can watch the match on demand. It's on there, and I liked it, and I'm like, holy shit, let's go. It's on there, and I'm surprised no one took it down just yet, because these companies are really crazy with that. But A+, kudos, merci beaucoup, France. You made a Backlash pay-per-view special, timeless, of all time.
Yeah, it was a very good pay-per-view for what it could have been. The crowd really made it, and it was fantastic. And look, it ended with a fantastic match. And look, we've praised every match on this card, all but maybe that tag team matches, because it was a little bit clunky. But you had the right people go over and win, and it sets up for an interesting story. So you even did that right. So this was absolutely fantastic. On our calling the card, we ended up splitting because we had the same predictions, and we predicted the whole card. I still lead you by 1 point. It's 3-2. So it's going to make things very interesting moving forward. We've got a lot of pay-per-views. It feels like we've got a pay-per-view or two every month right now from here on out. So it's going to be a lot, and we'll kind of get through it. With all that being said, we are now building towards the king and the queen of the ring, which is going to take place in Saudi Arabia. So I wanted to do a little bit of fun booking, because basically Raw was a lot of King of the Ring and a lot of Queen of the Ring, and SmackDown was a lot of King of the Ring and a lot of Queen of the Ring. So I wanted to see how you would book the Raw, basically be the Raw semifinal, and how you would book the SmackDown semifinal for both the men's and the women's King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring. So real quick, we've already had a couple of matches. So right now you've got Gunther waiting to take on the winner of Kofi Kingston and Rey Mysterio. That's going to happen at a live show this weekend. Ilya Dragunov is into the quarterfinals, and he's going to take on main event Jey Uso. On the SmackDown side, you got Randy Orton taking on Carmelo Hayes, and they're doing this very cocky character with Carmelo Hayes. You've got LA Knight and Santos Escobar. They've got to face off still. And then you've got Tama Tonga waiting to take on whoever wins that. So right now, the way I would set this up, I would have Rey Mysterio defeat Kofi Kingston, get into that match against Gunther, and then I would have Gunther win that match. And I would then have Jey Uso beat Ilya Dragunov and have Jey Uso versus Gunther move on. And then that would you can create a couple different storylines there. And the reason for that is you could have Ilya Dragunov come back and try to assist Gunther because he's pissed that he lost to Jey Uso. You're still flaming the flames of Jey Uso, keeping him built up. You could then have Ilya Dragunov helping Gunther win this match, and he could then become part of Imperium if you wanted to, or you could somehow set up some type of relationship between the two that you could build a storyline off of. And that's why I would have Gunther going on to the finals. I would have Randy Orton beating Carmelo Hayes, and I would have Tama Tonga beating LA Knight, and I would have Randy Orton and Tama Tonga get into that semifinals match because that's part of this story that we've got ongoing right now, and I feel like that could be incredibly interesting. And then, honestly, I don't necessarily care who wins from there. If you want to go Randy Orton Gunther, I think that would be a fantastic match. If you want to go Tama Tonga Gunther, I think that'd be a fantastic match. So whoever you wanted to send to the finals, I would be A-okay with. I think that would be great. Now, on the Queen of the Ring side, we're still waiting for the Shayna Baszler-Zelina Vega match. That is supposed to take place at a live show this weekend. I would have Zelina Vega win this and go on to face Io Sky, only to have Io Sky become the winner here. And then you've got Laya Valkyrie and you've got Zoe Starks facing off. I would have Laya Valkyrie win. You would have Io Sky, Laya Valkyrie have a face-off here. Look, there's not a lot of storylines on this Raw side. I feel like there's better storylines on the SmackDown side of this King and Queen of the Ring, which then brings us to Jade Cargill, Nia Jax. I would have Jade Cargill win and advance to the semis, and I would have Tiffany Stratton beat Michin. So you'd have Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair to have Bianca Belair win that. So now you've got Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair facing off in that semifinals match where one of them would go on to win and take place in the finals. And what you would do there is they want this match, they want to face each other, but I think you could put Jade is still very raw. You can put Jade in a match where Jade can basically face off against anybody, but she needs to be helped. And Bianca can help carry her. Bianca can help her get to the finish. Bianca can help sell for her and make her look like a superstar. So I would have those two going at it. You create a little bit of demise with those tag team belts. I always hate how tag team partners always just end up turning on each other. I think there's got to be a reason. Here's the reason. This is the built-in reason. So you could have this tag team split later on down the line if you wanted to. So I would have these two people face off. I want to know how you would book these semifinals for Raw and SmackDown. What would you do?
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with you a lot on the men's side, but I think the only person I maybe would insert a little bit more because it seems like he's getting a push is Dragunov. I think Jey Uso is main event, but it makes sense in regards to probably they will go that way because Uso is bigger, but I feel like Dragunov needs to kind of be established a little bit more as a serious threat, and then I think they could have a good match with Gunther. I think the other side of it is, it's going to be fascinating to see how far Randy Orton goes. I think that, now they've taken a little bit of the momentum towards the bloodline. I think Randy Orton should come out the SmackDown side, and I think the King of the Ring would be a great match where you have Randy Orton against Gunther, and it'll be a banger, and it'll be Gunther definitely, no doubt, being the winner. So I agree with everything you said on the men's side, but I think Dragunov might be the one where I would maybe insert. On the women's side, I disagree probably a lot. I would say that Jade Cargill is going to be the winner, no doubt, but I think she's got to go through Tiffany Stratton, and I think Bianca Belair is somebody that can afford to take a loss, and I don't think you want to. I think right now it's still too soon to plant the seed of doubts that they're going to break up. Yeah, there's money to be made, and Jade, Bianca, WrestleMania 41 sounds good at this point in time. But I think right now you got to ride the momentum of having Jade and Bianca be a team, be all in cohesion and everything like that. Don't plant the seeds too early for something like that. So unfortunately, Tiffany gets the rocket ship over Bianca. Bianca now is kind of that placeholder, not at the level of Natalya where she's kind of irrelevant, but Bianca right now, she's a star, but she's in a tag team. So it is for probably some mentorship for Jade in regards to the personality aspect and the wrestling aspect as well, the total package. And I just think that for me, Jade Cargill is going to dominate. And then to me, Tiffany Stratton getting some love in the ring and having great matches, even though she's going to lose, again, will be something where she's going to get fed up. And then when her run comes, it'll set up a great opportunity. But yeah, I think Gunther and Jade Cargill, pretty easy decision. But along the way, the swerves will be interesting. But bottom line, the king and the queen of the ring are all about having great matches, and the tournament's going to be great. I'm not so keen on, I know that these shows have been kind of focused on that, not too keen on the injuries to Drew and Bobby Lashley kind of took away. Bronson Reed, I feel like had more of a role in this than he probably needed. He deserved a little bit more in terms of kind of his push level. Needs to keep going because of his size and stature. But bottom line is king and queen of the ring. There is kind of a certain degree of importance that it does have, but I think it should be more than what it has been. But I can't wait to see it, and congrats to Gunther and Jade Cargill, because if two others win it, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And look, you're right. This whole thing is built on fantastic matches. The thing that I found just alarming, just kind of going through this practice that we just did, right, of doing some fantasy booking and trying to book this tournament out. It is really interesting, the disparity between the storylines that you have on Raw and that you have on SmackDown. SmackDown is so rich with these storylines and so many things you can do, where Raw, it just kind of feels like you're like, all right, we're going to have a match and we'll see what happens. So it's weird to me that we've got one side booked as well as it is, and the other side is just a little bit lacking. Real quick, before we move on to some AEW stuff, because I've got some heavy thoughts on AEW, what we saw this week. What do you think of Cody Rhodes, Logan Paul set for king and queen of the ring in Saudi Arabia? What do you think of him basically being catapulted up to, I guess, that main event status? Now, look, we both agree the guy's fantastic in the ring. He's unreal. But this is like your mid-card champion. Your mid-card champion should have his own mid-card thing going on. Instead, he's getting pulled to the main event with your main event champion. This was my big concern coming out of the draft. I didn't feel like there were enough bad guys, enough heels to put in front of Cody Rhodes, and there was really nobody of his standard or ilk to put in front of him. You've got a lot of mid-card talent on SmackDown, and you don't have a lot of guys outside of the bloodline that are really on that level, and we're kind of done with that bloodline storyline for right now. So what do you do to keep Cody Rhodes occupied? And I don't know if they have a good answer for it. I think Logan Paul is going to put on a fantastic match with Cody Rhodes. I think it's going to be a banger, but I don't necessarily know why you've got Logan Paul taking on Cody Rhodes right now. To me, it just doesn't necessarily make sense. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts on it, if you maybe figured it out and you could let me in on why they're doing this match and why Logan Paul is getting pulled up to take on Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, it's it's basically, I'm going to tell you, and please nobody take offense that's overseas, but probably some dude in a lovely outfit drinking some tea is like, I want big match. And big match, Logan Paul. So 2 years now, or a couple times now, Logan Paul has headlined, they must drink Prime and be like, this stuff give us energy, more than Turkish coffee. So look, yeah, it's unfortunate because it is a glorified house show, and the timing of it is weird. But and I think the King and Queen of the Ring taking place in Saudi is kind of funny as well. But look, it's kind of just dream matches, and it's not something where anybody believes that Logan's going to win it. But I think everybody's kind of leaning toward, oh man, Cody's not going to get the U.S. belt, so it's going to be a DQ wonky finish. So, so who's going to show up in Saudi wearing the outfit, or it's going to be a gimmick, and most likely Logan Paul is going to get DQ'd. And probably the best thing you could do is set up Cody's next feud by the end result of this match. And maybe you have a longer term. Basically, this is the place setting of, hey, Logan Paul, let's see. It's kind of like a test. It's like, hey, it's an overseas show. let's see what you look like on the big stage again against Cody Rhodes. And that's what it's going to be. It doesn't make too much sense logistically. Like, it's like Logan Paul is the 4th best wrestler in the world right now in regards to like rankings. And you don't expect that he's really on the level of Cody Rhodes. But I will say this, he did win the promo. Cody kind of got the shit end of the writing. It's like, Logan was more passionate. It just seemed like he had better words to spit out. But I will say this, as we've been harping on it, Cody unstrapped the belt, and he looked much better holding it like a man. Someone told him, hey, hold it like a man. And he did, and they both did. Now, the U.S. belt is a little bit more size, the size relation to Logan looks a little better, but finally Cody looked normal talking on the microphone. It looked a lot more natural, over his shoulder, unstrapped, and he talked, but unfortunately they didn't give him good words. Logan won the promo battle, which maybe was intended, but I do want to see the match, and that's what's going to be interesting. It just doesn't make sense because usually the competitors for the world title, it's not an open challenge where, hey, just someone shows up. But Logan's a big star, and people want to see him. So I can understand the reasoning. It's more for entertainment than it is for creative storyline, and there are probably more deserving people. But I think for a show overseas that has demands that maybe we don't know about, it's going to be fine to see. I kind of want to see it. I'm looking forward to seeing if, like Cody said, the test is, hey, I'm the guy. Let's see where you're at.
Yeah, you're right. There are demands that are made because it is one of these overseas shows, and WWE has many masters when they do these Saudi Arabia shows. It's not just the fans and it's not just the storylines that they've got to keep regular. For the longest time, these shows were just non-canon. It was just a basically glorified house show. So you are right. There are other things going on with laying these matches out and laying this show out. So it'll be interesting to see what takes place. Let's move on to AEW real quick, because I think we got a good AEW show. I think this show was fun. I think it had some good matches. I think I actually had you started off with a great match with Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta, and then you ended with a great match with Brody King and Adam Copeland. And I thought they were both fantastic. I don't think they both needed to be these non-DQ-esque type of matches, but I thought they were great. But I don't really feel like we did anything here. I don't really feel like we moved a whole lot forward. I felt like Dynamite really lacked substance. It lacked that meat and potatoes that you kind of need for a show that's going to help build you to a pay-per-view. Yeah, I understand that we got the teams for Anarchy in the arena with the Young Bucks and Okada and Jack Perry taking on FTR and Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson. I'll be honest with you, the insertion of Bryan Danielson into this group is confusing to me. Eddie Kingston I get, but Bryan Danielson I don't necessarily understand unless we're going with the Okada tie, which is what we might be doing. But I just, again, the substance, the fabric of the storytelling is again a little bit lacking for me, and that kind of bothered me. And then the show, you ended up getting an 8-minute overrun or a 10-minute overrun, which is fine because it kind of felt like it was setting you up for false finishes along the way. Like you had Adam Copeland and Brody King, they brawled after, and then you had Kyle O'Reilly come out to make the save. Then they had a backstage interview, and you're like, okay, cool. And then you had Mercedes Mone cut a promo, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then after that, you had the Young Bucks come down, and that was where we got the layout for our Anarchy in the arena. It was like one false finish after another false finish after another false finish until we finally faded to black. But the thing about Mercedes Mone, she signed her contract over 2 months ago. We've not seen her in the ring once. Her promos do not get me interested to see her wrestle. Her promos are very lacking. She is the same exact character she was when she was in WWE. She is the same exact person she was when she was in WWE. The only difference is she changed her name. Every time I hear her talk, it is just kind of a stale promo. There is nothing there. I don't know. They've not done a good job of defining her as a heel. She kind of feels like she's still this tweener. She feels like she's a face with heel tendencies. Willow is obviously a face. She's all sunshine and rainbows, so duh there. But Mercedes Mone has had zero defining heel moments. She just says some heel stuff, and her promos are just kind of all over the place. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. And then I'm going to come slap that smile off your face. Okay, well, nobody cares that you're going to the Red Sox game. Nobody cares that you're sitting courtside at the Boston Celtics game. Nobody cares about these things. Like, keep this stuff to wrestling. I just don't think she's been worth the money. I don't think she's been worth the investment. We're now over 2 months in since her debut. Mind you, they've had her signed since around January. So technically we are 4 months into her contract, and she's done zero. I don't think she's drawn a penny for this company, and I'm not into whatever this character is. It is flat for me. Maybe she turns heel against Willow. Maybe she redeems herself. But much like this program that we got on Wednesday with Dynamite, I felt like her promo lacked substance, and the show did as well. And it was a little bit frustrating to me. What did you think of Dynamite as a whole? And am I off base with Mercedes Mone?
It's too early, I think, to assess it as a bust. But yeah, it is not bold. The CEO story, I guess, is one that we can understand. She's the boss, and very similar to Sasha Banks. Mercedes Moné's got to do it where, okay, the build has been a little bit longer, but she has been injured. So you want to be overly cautious, especially if you're investing over $5 million a year in this character. You want to make sure it delivers. So now, where we know, and I think what's happened is, the fact of the matter is her promos are very similar to what she's done. It's not unique. It's not going to make you draw. It's not going to allow you to say, oh, I want to go see this pay-per-view because of her. But now when she's in the ring, she's got to wow. She has to wrestle. She's got to make the other part of it. The 50% character, we understand she's the boss bitch. Now she's got to go in the ring and show Willow that she's the boss. And that's with a couple timed high spots, some good psychology, connecting with the fans. And that's why, like you said, to wrap up AEW Dynamite, why is it that a damn near 50-year-old Adam Copeland is still intriguing? Because he moves in the ring flawlessly. He's an expert technician, great psychology. You understand that, hey, he's still willing to do things and go through the ropes and take Brody King through the table. He delivers great matches. And so now this is where the challenge is. Look, everybody has the vignettes. Everybody has their time. But eventually, Scott Hall got in the ring, and when he was in the ring, he was fucking special. With the movement, the flawlessness, the psychology that he told, he was a great wrestler. And that's what Sasha Banks and now Mercedes Moné has to show is, hey, get in the ring, dominate, do some things that make us believe that, hey, you should be the next world champion.
All right, let's move on. What was your show of the week? I'm not going to disagree with what you said about it. I'm kind of over her character at this moment in time, so I'll wait and see. We'll see what happens. She's got to redeem herself to me. But that being said, what was your show of the week this week?
Yeah, to highlight to me, I thought the Hartford crowd for Raw was a little bit dead. It kind of took it out. You know, when they started doing the what chants, it was like, this is corny. So it took away a little bit from Raw. I thought Raw was a decent show, but the show of the week was Smackdown. It was top to bottom. You established the next situation for Saudi, and Tama Tonga is ominous. And oh my God, he's violent, and it made for a great 2 hours of wrestling. So Dynamite deserves the kudos for taking a step forward, but the show of the week was SmackDown.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. SmackDown was by and away a fantastic show this week. If you got 2 hours, go watch it. It was great. You ready for some news and notes?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
So possible plans for Bo Dallas as Uncle Howdy and his faction may have been leaked. Mike Johnson of PW Insider has confirmed that the 5 wrestlers who will be in the group, led by Bo Dallas's Uncle Howdy character, are Bo Dallas as Uncle Howdy, Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy, Eric Rowan. This group will play off the Bray Wyatt intellectual property, which was teased at the end of the Bray Wyatt Peacock documentary. Johnson noted that it's currently unclear whether some of the stars will have new personas. Dallas, Cross, and Lumis have yet to wrestle for WWE this year, while Joe Gacy is currently a member of the NXT roster, and Eric Rowan was released by WWE in 2020, but has made a one-off return for the Bray Wyatt tribute episode on SmackDown in August of 2023. It was reported at the beginning of the month that the former Wyatt family member officially signed a new contract with WWE and will return to the company. There's also some rumors going around that Alexa Bliss, when she comes back, if she comes back, will be part of this group as well. So we'll have to wait and see. I hope she is not. This wrestling legend is now a free agent. Jerry the King Lawler is now a free agent. His contract with WWE has expired, and WWE chose to not pick it up or extend him. The King has been used sparingly in recent months with WWE and has had a few medical issues in the recent years. As much as this isn't fun, it's more a sign of the times, I think, of what we're getting with TKO. If you're not going to be used or you can't do the job that they hire you to do, they're just going to kind of let your contract expire. Really, with the King, he ended up having a stroke a little while ago, and it's been hard to put him on TV because he has trouble talking because of the stroke, and he has a little bit of issues getting around. So it kind of makes sense for WWE to move on from the King, and it doesn't sound like the King wants to really do anything else. Don't expect him to sign up in AEW. He doesn't watch really any wrestling anymore. And finally, we might have some answers on where we can watch Raw starting in October before the Netflix deal takes place. With WWE's Monday Night Raw moved to Netflix, announced for January, and its current contract with the USA Network set to expire in October, it had not yet been known where Raw would air in the 2 months before the start of the new deal with Netflix. However, in a Wednesday afternoon TKO earning call, it was announced that WWE had entered a $25 million domestic rights deal with NBC Universal, with Raw set to remain on the USA Network for the final quarter of 2024. So Monday Night Raw isn't going anywhere until January of 2025 when it goes to Netflix. Now, moving over to SmackDown, it had previously been confirmed by WWE that the USA Network would be picking up SmackDown beginning October of 2024. But it appears that there's been an alteration to those plans. On social media, the USA Network announced that it will be the exclusive linear home for both Raw and SmackDown starting on Friday, September 13th. So essentially, SmackDown moves from Fox to USA, looks to have been brought forward by a couple of weeks. So for both Raw and SmackDown, they will air on USA Network for the final quarter plus of 2024. Also, WWE's NXT is set to move to the CW Network starting in October, ending its run on USA Network. So basically, middle of September, USA Network will be your home of WWE until the beginning of 2025. That's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes, my brother.
Yes, sir. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast for all your great Detroit sports content, talking about the Red Wings, Tigers, Pistons, and Lions, and our weekly wrestling recap on the weekends, man. I always look forward to firing up the microphones, breaking down the world of professional wrestling. It's been a great time, the evolution of everything that went on. And I'll say this, kudos to the guy that asked, the French guy, asked Triple H about Drew Gulak. Now, the thing that pissed everybody off was that he referenced the sources of where he heard it from. He should have just asked Triple H straight up, hey, I heard that Drew Gulak is no longer with the company. Can you confirm that? And can you share why? And I think that, if you're going to have pressers, you're going to have a mix of fans and you're going to have journalists. And I think that for Triple H to kind of slam the media, hey, that was a little bit of a faux pas because you got a lot of people that really love and respect wrestling and put out a lot of information to earn those subscribers. To get $5 out of anybody is super tough. And so for Fightful and PW Insider, I know Mike Johnson takes a lot of heat, but at the same token, again, whenever people slam the media, technically speaking, you're slamming the ability of your own company to get press, because if you slam the credibility of an outlet, then whenever they put out information that you want, like Backlash set the record for the biggest number, if you do that, then when you go out and send those things out, then less and less people will believe it. So you got to always remember that a strong media is important. And for Triple H to do that, I thought was a faux pas. It probably was caught off guard because everybody thinks that these pressers are ceremonial. But kudos to the French guy who's like, hey, I had a question. And Triple H's answer was fair. He's like, well, technically, the reports were false because Drew Gulak, we just decided that his contract was up, and we decided not to renew it. Who knows what the level of involvement was with Ronda Rousey, but in the end, Drew Gulak is no longer with the company. I can't wait next week to fire up another episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast, where we break down AEW, WWE, all the big news in the world of professional wrestling. Can't wait, cuz. Let's talk next week.